Kairatamate. Here's a somewhat more detailed introduction to the concepts of tense and aspect as they relate to the Greek verb. What your book refers to, and what we'll be referring to as tense in the Greek verb, is in fact a combination of two slightly different things, time and aspect. Time only has three possibilities in the universe we live in: future, present, and past. Those are the only three options when it comes to time. And so if the Greek verb tense were only about time, there could only be three verb tenses: future, present, and past. But in fact, there are more than that. And that's because there's another kind of information included besides when the verb happened, and that is what we call aspect, what sort of action we're talking about. There are really four options for the sort of action. The action can be simple, the action can be ongoing or progressive, the action can be repeated, or the action can have already been completed. So those are the four possibilities, and to give you a clearer notion of what I'm talking about, let's take a look at what they look like entirely in the past time in English. So if you had simple action, it would just be the simple past: ate. My dog ate her supper. Progressive: my dog was eating her supper when the doorbell rang. That indicates to you that the action was ongoing. My dog used to eat a biscuit every morning at 9. Used to is what we use in English to indicate repeated action in the past. Or my dog had eaten her breakfast before I could leave the room. Had indicates that the action was completed in the past. In English, you can do all four of those in the present and in the future as well, although the repeated action is not so easy to express in the present or the future. But you can do it. You can give it a try, right? So in the present, it would be: my dog eats, my dog is eating, my dog habitually eats, my dog has eaten. In the future, my dog will eat, my dog will be eating, my dog habitually will eat, or my dog will have eaten. Okay, so even though we don't use a couple of those, the repeated action isn't used very much in the present or future. All the rest of them are in English, and the way in which we form them tends to use auxiliary verbs. So was eating, used to eat, had eaten. Greek, however, is able to incorporate all of that information within the verb form itself. That's one of the delights of the Greek verbal system. Now, as you undoubtedly will already have calculated, if you had a complete system that would indicate both time and aspect in all of the possibilities, you would end up with 12 different tenses. Greek, however, you'll be pleased to learn, has only 7. And that's because, for one thing, the progressive and the repeated aspects are combined in one, and you just have to tell from context whether you're talking about progressive action or repeated action. And for another, the simple and the progressive aspects are combined in the present tense and the future tense. Those two tenses take care of both of those things. The chart that you're looking at is color-coded to indicate a very important distinction that you're going to want to always remember and keep in mind, and that's the distinction that's made in Greek between past tenses, which are known as secondary tenses, and the non-past tenses, that is to say present and future, which are known as primary tenses. So if you combine the three possible times, past, present, future, with these now three possible aspects: the simple, the progressive or repeated, and the completed, and then you subtract ones for present simple and future simple, you end up with the 7 Greek tenses: the aorist, past simple; the imperfect, past progressive; the pluperfect, past completed; the present, present simple or progressive, the perfect, present completed, the future, which is again both simple and progressive, and the future completed, which is future perfect. Unit 2 of Hansen and Quinn is going to teach you 4 of these tenses: the present, the future, the imperfect, and the aorist. The present and future will use the primary endings because, of course, those are primary tenses. The imperfect and the aorist are both secondary tenses, and we'll. In this chart, I've given you first the imperfect endings, on, s, e, omen, ete, on, and then in parentheses afterwards, these ones with the alpha are the first aorist endings. And they differ from the imperfect endings only in their use of the alpha as the characteristic theme vowel for the aorist. The endings that are past, right, the secondary ones, the aorist and imperfect, will use a temporal augment to signal the fact that they're past tenses. Then you choose the correct stem, and then you add on these endings to formulate the verb. So you'll be able to tell from the verb lots of information. And one of the things that is important as you learn to read Greek is your ability to look at the verb and glean all of that information from it. So to take an example, you're going to want to ask questions like, does this form have an augment? Which stem is it using? Which personal ending does it have? In the example, elusamen, does it have an augment? Why, yes it does, so it must be in the past. What's its stem? Lusa, that's the aorist stem. What personal ending does it have? Amen, that is the first person plural. So the information that we've gleaned from this form is that it is the aorist, simple past, and it's the first person plural, active, indicative. That makes it its meaning we loosened or we destroyed. Simple action in the past. So always remember to think about tense, aorist in this case, as a combination of time, past time, and aspect, simple aspect. Finally, another delightful feature of the Greek verb is that as you learn each one, the dictionary will give you 6 principal parts. These are 6 forms that give you all the stems that you need to know to formulate all of the different ways of expressing a finite verb. They give you all the tense aspect combinations. Each of the 6 principal parts will be the first person singular. They are the present, future, aorist, and perfect active first person singular forms, and then the perfect and aorist passive first singular forms. For the verb luo, they go like this: luo, luso, elusa, leluka, lelumai, eluthane. So they follow a predictable pattern, but there are many, many irregular verbs whose stem changes as they undergo these different tense and aspect changes, so it's important for you to learn the principal parts as you get them.